in this country, in all parts of the country. There's some in the South, there's a bunch on the East Coast, and there's a ton of them on the West Coast. Find a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu instructor. There's wrestling coaches in every city in this country, just about. Go to the wrestling coach. And there's good boxing programs in every major urban area in the United States. If they did nothing but go to a boxing gym and work with a wrestling coach on their takedowns and their clinching ability, they'd still pick up a major portion of this game. And you can do that virtually anywhere in the United States. You have to stop looking at Asian martial arts and start looking in your own backyard, and you're going to find better training.
Hey. Come on. This guy wanted to know what my lineage was and who gave me my certificate to teach. Anybody around? No.
And if you take the 4 or 5 combative sports that are in the Olympics and combine them, you have Vale Tudo or no-holds-barred fighting right there. And no-holds-barred is kind of a, oxymoron as far as, because there are rules and there are, things that you can't do and because of safety's sake. So.
Okay, let's review. If you want to have a real clinch game, if you really want to be able to fight at that clinch or trapping range, then you need to have a good understanding of the following 3 key areas. The first is that control tie-up. Understanding how to dominate position when you're in the clinch is the most important thing. If you have dominant position, then you're going to be able to come out on top with the striking, and you're going to be able to keep the fight standing up if you want to, or you're going to be able to take it down. So you want to understand that control tie-up, the pummel, all the things we tried to show you today. If that's new information for you, you need to go out and learn it. The next key area is your striking. Unattached and attached striking. You need to work both. You need to work them with real timing. You need to spar with them. And you need to keep in mind that attached hitting or hitting while you're holding on to the guy while you're in the clinch is much more common. So you want to make sure you work that a lot. And the third key area is the takedowns and throws. And even if you don't want to go to the ground, if you're not a ground fighter, if you're a stand-up fighter, I highly suggest you work those takedowns and throws. Learn a double leg, learn a single leg, learn a high crotch takedown, learn a penetration step, learn a few basic takedowns from the pummel. And even if you don't want to use them, you're going to be able to counter them because you'll know what they are. If you don't know what those things are, like I said, you're going to be a sucker for a takedown. So if you want to be able to effectively fight at the clinch range, you must have all 3 of these key areas.
Matt, what would be your response to a lot of people who say that Straight Blast Gym is really just a bunch of guys beating the snotty out of each other? It's really not a martial art. Literally, you've taken the art out of martial arts.
I hear that question a lot, actually. It's a good question because every time I do a seminar, I've had many different people come up and express that question to me. If you think about it, it's really a stupid question. I mean, nobody says to, as an example, Randy Couture, Randy's a really good wrestler. He's got good wrestling techniques, great takedowns, but he's taken the art out of wrestling. Wellington Diaz is a really good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner. He's got great submissions, fantastic black belt, but he's taken the art out of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Evander Holyfield's a good boxer, but he's taken the art out of boxing. I mean, if you said it in that context, you'd sound like a moron. And with us, it's really no different because it's evaluated basically strictly on performance. If what we do works, that's the art. That's the whole art of it, is making it work. It's performance-oriented at the Straight Blast Gym.
Relax. Relax. Okay.
The street fighting is important, and you always hear us, you're going to hear me refer throughout this whole tape series, you're going to hear me refer to the term street fighting. I use that term because I want to keep things in the broadest possible perspective. I want people to remember that even though we're training, for example, just jiu-jitsu on the ground, the guy could punch you here, or the guy could be biting you here. I want people to remember that even though we're just doing boxing, the guy could kick you in the knee here if he's got boots on, and that can change the game. And we remember that when we're training. We remember how open-minded and how we have to look at the big picture by using the term street fighting. But I don't use the term street fighting because street fighting has any value at all. I've been in a lot of street fights, and there's absolutely nothing cool about being in street fights. It's stupid. Okay, it's for people that lack a certain amount of emotional maturity. When you get two guys to agree to a set of rules and a time and place for particular one-on-one combat, that's honorable. Not everybody likes that, but there's honor in it, and it's good for the human being, and it's good for the soul. And that's a whole different thing from a street fight. If I'm in a street fight, guy didn't call me up and say, you know, I'm going to come over in 5 minutes, or I'm going to come over next week and I'm going to, you know, kick your ass. He just all of a sudden shows up. I don't know if he's got a weapon. I don't know if he's got friends. I have no idea what his intentions are. Under those circumstances, I'm going to do whatever I need to do to go home, to be the one that goes home safely. That means sticking my thumb in his eye. That means throwing him off a balcony. Whatever that means. It means anything goes. There's no honor in that. That's survival. But if somebody sets up, if we both, two combatants, two athletes, mutually agree under a certain set of circumstances to meet each other at a future time and date when they're both going to be healthy, nobody's got injuries, nobody's, you know, nursing any wounds, that's an honorable thing. And that's a completely different thing from street fighting. And people don't understand that. And it's healthy and it's good for people. And a guy like Randy Couture, he's a well-adjusted human being. He's a nice guy. He's a good guy. Part of that comes from the fact that he's, in my mind, and he might even disagree with this, but I don't think so, from the fact that he's been wrestling since he was a kid. He's been, and wrestling is combat. And that was a set of rules, but it was one guy versus another guy, and he's been doing that over